Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Abdullah Kamil, and today I'm going to be giving you an overview on PowerPivot. PowerPivot is a free add-in from Microsoft, and it comes by default now since Excel 2013. You probably heard about PowerPivot before, and you're wondering yourself, what is the added value? Why do I need PowerPivot? PowerPivot, power comes from the addition of a new set of functions called the DAX functions or the time intelligence functions, and they provide very powerful functions that manipulate data with time in a very powerful way, and it is used to do the business intelligence dashboards and stuff like that. The other thing also, it can bring a whole database into an Excel file, and you can define relationships in it. Okay, something that Excel on its own cannot do. Alright, so let's see how we can use PowerPivot. So let's enable it first. To enable PowerPivot, you go to File, and then you go to Options, and from Options you go to Add-ins, and select Come Add-ins, and click Go. Enable PowerPivot. You should see it here, and click OK. Once you click it, you see a new tab appears. It's called PowerPivot, and you can see all the icons here. Manage will take you to PowerPivot window. Calculated fields allow you to create new calculated fields, but you can also do that from the PowerPivot window. KPIs, you can define KPIs, and you can align and do a lot of other stuff here. This button here is very important. This is how you add data from Excel to PowerPivot. So it's called Add to Data model. So PowerPivot need to bring data in from external sources, and those external sources can be an Excel table, as in the case that we have here, or you can bring from a database like Access or SQL Server. Okay, if you're working with Excel table, your table must be formatted as table, and you can do that by going to Home and then go to Format as Table and format it as table. I've already done that with the data that we have, and that's why we have table tools here. And if you go to design, you can see the table name, and it's important you give your table a meaningful name, because later on in PowerPivot you will use these table name to in your functions. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy this table to PowerPivot. So to do that, click anywhere in the table and click Add to Data Model. When you do that, it immediately goes to PowerPivot, and the PowerPivot window opens up. Okay, good practice is to go here and change the format. It's already understood that the format is a date, and just click something that works with you, and here we're gonna just keep one decimal. Let me explain a little bit here about the PowerPivot window. So you have the Home tab here, you have the Design tab, and you have the Link table, because we are linking from table in Excel. Okay, so the Home tab here, this is where you bring your data from external sources. So you have the option to bring from database, from SQL Server, or from Access, or from analysis services, or PowerPivot. From data services, so you can bring from Windows Azure Marketplace, or from a data feed, or from other sources, and this is where you can select from a whole range of other data sources, okay, like Oracle, IPM, DB2, a lot of other stuff. So you basically can bring your data from anywhere. And then you have here the pivot table. This is how you can produce your pivot table from your pivot PowerPivot calculations. Okay, And this is, you have here the format, and here you have the sort and filter, and you have the option here to sort by column. We will see why this is important later on. And you have the calculations here. You have the auto calculation stuff like the average and sum and count. And you have here the diagram view. We're going to look at that later on. And you have the calculation area. Now the calculation area is this part here. Okay, so let's just bring it up a little bit. So this is the calculation area, okay, and this is where you can define calculation based on, you know, the whole columns. Like if you write here average, okay, and you click the column name here, it calculates the average for the whole column, okay, and we're gonna need this. So let's call this average temperature because our data is temperature. But this is gonna be the average for the whole column. And it is not really useful to us. But the good thing, we're gonna be able later on to get the average temperature from this calculation divided into months. So you get the average temperature for each month, for example. All right. So let's look at the other tab here. So you have the design here. You can add a new column, or you can add the new column just by clicking, you know, anywhere here. Right click on any column to add a new column to the left. All right. And you can freeze, and you can change the width and stuff. You can go to insert functions. This is where all the DAX functions exist. And if you scroll through them, you can see a lot of the function that does not, you know, exist in Excel. And you can choose, you know, from date and time, math and statistical and other stuff. Okay, so this is where all the functions are. And you have the calculations options here to select manual or automatic. And you have here mark as date table. This is something that we're going to explain in a little bit. The link table is just, you know, the how to update it, and you know, how to update your table manually or automatically. Okay. So to use PowerPivot effectively, you need to have a date table. Okay, because all of the DAX functions are, you know, they're basically, you know, they have a very powerful way of manipulating data that have time portions in it, you know, like the events, you know, like transactions and stuff. So you need to have a date table, and the date table is basically a one-column table that has all the days that cover your fact table data. Okay, and the date table must not skip any day. All right. So we need to bring the date table here. So to do that, we need to go back here to our Excel sheet, and we have here sheet 2, and this is where we stored our date table. It's a one-column table, but it contains all the days without skipping any day. Okay, and it doesn't have any other data associated with it just yet. All right, so we need to add it to the data model as well. We click here and we get it transferred. We change the format to something that we like, and now what you need to do next is you need to go to the diagram view. And from the diagram view here, you can see both tables. So this is your fact table. This is your date table. The date table is a must for PowerPivot. You need to have it. Otherwise, you cannot do the calculations correctly. So what you need to do is to take the date key here, drag it to create a relationship, and see how the line comes up here. Okay, and come to the date table here and create the link, and just release, and immediately you see that a link has been created. This is a relationship. If you click on the line, you will get how the relationship is created. Okay, so now let's go back to the data view. Okay. We only have the dates here, okay? There's a date key only. But what we need to have is we need to have months and years, right? So let's add month, okay? And we're gonna do this by creating a new column, and we cannot, write anything in the month column. We can only provide a formula. So what we're going to do, we're going to get the month from the date, so we can use a function called format. And this is basically the same as the text format functions from Excel. So we select the column, which is the value, and the format that we want is, the format that we want is month. All right. Okay, so we have January and the rest of the months. But if you click here, what you can see here, all the months has been sorted in an alphabetic order, and this is something that we don't want. So to change that, we need to add the month number first. So we add the month number, and now we just get the month number from the date, and okay, and now we come to sorting that option that we talked about, which is called sort by column. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna sort column month by the month number column, okay, and we hit okay. So the month here is going to be sorted based on the month number, and that's why now you see all the months has been sorted correctly. Okay, let's go ahead and add years. So we're going to define the new category for the year, and we're going to take it from the date. Okay. All right, now let's go back now to our Excel sheet, and let's create a pivot table. Oh, let's create a new sheet first. Okay, let's create a pivot table. So we click on insert pivot table, and now we need to use an external data source, and click on choose connection, go to tables tab here, and you can see here that we have this workbook data model, and as you can see here we have two tables, and we click open, and we're gonna do it here in this sheet, and we hit OK. Once you hit OK, you can see that Excel brought both tables, date table and the maximum temperature table, which has our fact table. Okay, so the first thing, we need to take the date from the date table. So we are interested in getting the years, and we are interested in getting the month. And as you can see here, all the months has been sorted correctly because we sorted them in PowerPivot by using the month number. Okay, the next thing, we go to our fact table, which is the maximum temperature. And because the average temperature has been created in the calculation area, no more calculations going to be added to this calculations, okay? Because normally pivot table will add a sum or a count based on the data that you put in the values. Okay, so if you click here in the average temperature, you can see we get the average temperature for each month, although in PowerPivot here it's only calculated once. Okay, and this is the power of PowerPivot. So it can divide the calculation based on what you restrict, in the rows. All right. So we added the average temperature, And you can see we're using two tables and the data is coming up correctly because we do have that relationship. If we don't have that relationship here between both tables, we will not be able to create a pivot table from both tables. Okay. All right. So let's go to a more useful, because this is something you can do in Excel with no problem. But let's look on how we can use PowerPivot to compare the average temperature of each month in one of those years to the previous year, for example. All right. So you go back here to PowerPivot and you go to the data view and you define a new measure. Okay. Anything that you write here, any calculation that you write in the calculation area is called a measure. All right. So just select any one of these. And we're going to use a formula, a function called calculate. Okay. And this is not available in Excel. And it's going to ask you for an expression, and then it's going to tell you, okay, what's your filter or filters that you want to apply to the expression. So the expression is basically what we need to get is the average temperature, okay? So the average temperature, and as you can see here, you can see there's an M here at the tag here. So this means that this is a measure. Okay, and now we can define our filter. Okay, our filter, we're gonna use a function called parallel period. And what it does, it returns a parallel period of dates by the given set of dates in a specified interval. Not very useful description, but I'm gonna tell you what it means. Okay, so the parallel period, what you need to do is you need to define where your dates are. Basically is where your date table is, in what column contains those dates. So we know that it is in a table called date table. Oh, yeah. And you see the tag here, T is written here, which means that this is a table. And then you hit the square brackets and you can see, all the columns in date table. So we select date key, and we're gonna filter by the date table, but what we're gonna do, we're gonna go back 12 months. Okay, so we do that by writing -12, and this means going back 12 months. And then we write here, what's the interval, what we're gonna use, because we're gonna use months, we need to write month. Okay, and we close the other parentheses and we hit enter. And we can see here that we have our average calculated. Okay, and we need to rename this, and we're gonna rename it average temperature last year, LY. Okay, and let's just make it one decimal place. So we have now another measure here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back to our table, and now under maximum temperature here, what we're gonna do, we're gonna add the average temperature to our pivot table, the average temperature of last year. Okay, and as you can see here, each year we'll look back in the fact table where we have our temperature data, and compare the January, because we, for example here, I'm gonna look at the previous year if you have data in January. Since 2013 is the beginning of our data, we don't have any previous data, and that's why this is left blank. Okay, it's a good way probably to assort them. Yeah, largest to smallest. We're gonna do it by years. Okay, so 2016, for example, The average temperature in January was 18.1, and in January 2015, which is the average temperature last year, was 17.2. So if you go to January 2015, you can see here 17.2 is in the average temperature column, which is the same as the 17.2 here, the average temperature last year, and in the row where January of 2016 is. Okay, so this is how you compare values from this year to last year, and it's done really in a powerful way in PowerPivot. The average temperature last year, we defined that in PowerPivot, but what you can do, you can use, you don't have to use months. I mean, if you want to use days, you can use days. If you want to use years, you can use years. It's not, so you can manipulate this the way you want, okay? So this is just an overview of PowerPivot. There's a lot of other stuff that you can do with PowerPivot. It's not limited to this, but this is just a taste of what PowerPivot can do for you. I hope you liked the video. If you do, please subscribe and come back again here for more. Thank you very much.